thoughts. Hopefully you do good things. Everybody has a competition in their brain of good thoughts and bad thoughts. Hopefully they win. The good thoughts win. For me, I always have both. I have like the thing I believe, the good thing. That's the thing I believe. And then there's this thing.
How come no one buries a body at the cemetery that they're trying to hide from the world? Right? I mean, isn't that like the perfect place if you are one of these people that's like, hey, I got a body I got to get rid of. What do I do with it? Nobody's going to be looking for a body at a cemetery because it's expected. There's going to be dead bodies there. You know who has probably the as far as illegal activities and getting rid of bodies is concerned, I would say the guys that it's their job to dig the graves and bury. The fuck? Something happened outside. It's raining, so I'm guessing somebody fucking didn't know how to drive their goddamn car. But the guys that dig up, or not dig up, that dig the graves and then bury, when after the fucking funeral, like they have the best as far as access to getting rid of a body, right? You just, you wait till everybody's gone, you bring the body that you want to get rid of, and you bury it with the other body that you're burying, legitimately. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody go out and do this. This isn't like the blueprint for getting rid of bodies, but it just seems to me like when it comes to when somebody's killed somebody and they try and get rid of the evidence or whatever, they always make the mistake. They bury it in their fucking backyard, or I don't know, they dump it down the street, and it's just, I don't know, like, if you're gonna kill somebody, right? And again, I think it's fucking horrific. I am not advocating any sort of fucking craziness here, but if you're gonna kill somebody, I know that obviously I don't know what it's like, and I imagine that most people that end up killing like their loved ones, it was sort of spur of the moment, and then after it's done, I'm sure it's like, holy shit, what the fuck did I do? How do I get out of this? Yada yada yada, right? So I understand that most people are probably in panic mode. But if you've watched, any episode of Law and Order, or any of the other fucking, crime dramas, you'll see that almost every single time, and really not almost every time, every single time, the guy or the girl who did it gets caught. I'm just saying that maybe if you're gonna bury a body, right? If you've killed somebody and you're like, you know what, I need to get this, I need to get this shit fucking out of here. I need to get, rid of it. I understand that, you're not a psychopath. You're not the type that's like gonna cut a body up, even though that's probably the best way, I would assume, and find some way to scatter the pieces here and there. But obviously not everybody's a serial killer. A lot of the times people are just they found out their girlfriend cheated on them or some shit, and they act irrationally, and they do some crazy shit. Next thing you know, they've got about 105 pounds of dead weight, pardon the pun, to deal with. I say if you're gonna do something like that and you're looking to get away with it, it's not a guarantee, obviously, because what the fuck do I know about any of this shit? I'm not a fucking, I don't kill people, and I, obviously don't fucking work for I'm not a fucking detective, so this could be 100% just me talking out of my ass here. But it seems to me that the best place to get rid of a body would have to be a fucking cemetery, because nobody is looking for bodies at a cemetery, right? The fuck am I talking about, burying bodies? I don't know. It's fucking Tuesday, March 13th, 2018. What the fuck was it? You know what? I think what do they call it? I stirred up a hornet's nest. Is that the fucking phrase? With my last podcast about Bruno Mars. And for those of you that haven't listened to it, I recommend you go listen to it just for reference to this fucking podcast. But I'll give you a little fucking preview that I felt like I was pretty fair in my assessment that some black people, obviously not all, and now I would even say the majority. I would just say a small fucking fringe group of black people really don't like it when somebody who isn't black gets any sort of success doing something that they consider is exclusive to African American culture in this country. Because they were upset on Twitter at fucking Bruno Mars because how dare he become successful from singing songs really well and while at the same time not being black at all. It's so ludicrous that some people get this way, and I think it's a fair assessment from my last podcast that there are some black people that basically look at things like, well, I don't want to be excluded from anything because of the color of my skin, while at the same time I want to exclude people with different colors of skin than mine from things that are considered part of black culture. It's fucking nonsense. I'm willing to bet that until somebody got upset about Bruno Mars, you probably thought he was a good fucking singer, at least when you thought he was, when there was some black mixed in there. For the longest time I thought. I know he's part Filipino. I had no idea that the other part is like Jewish, and I forget what the other thing was, like Puerto Rican or some shit like that. But prior to knowing that there was no black mixed in there, I'm pretty sure most people thought he was awesome. So I don't understand why, when it's discovered that he that he's not black, that suddenly his success, his ability, his skill is dismissed. And as far as I understand, anytime he he's interviewed or he talks about his success, he makes sure to pay homage to to African American culture, because obviously without it he wouldn't even have a fucking career. So I don't understand what people are fucking upset about. I could see if he was getting on stage and he was basically doing like the 2018 version of blackface and was up there fucking dancing around like a clown and just completely mocking African Americans. I could understand if that's what he was doing, but that isn't what he was doing. He was just taking a talent that he fucking has and becoming successful from it. So I don't get what the issue is, but what I do know is there is a shitload of fucking direct messages sent to me where people were very upset that that I even attempted to make a case for why this fucking anger that you have with Bruno Mars is absurd. It's ridiculous. And I will say it again on this podcast. Either you want to be included in everything and you don't want to be excluded for the color of your skin, you want to be considered equal, or you want to have this sort of exclusivity towards, music and style and whatever it is, and fucking haircuts and shit. You can't have both. You can't say, you know what, I want to be a part of everything in your world, but when it comes to my world, no, no, no. You know, you it has to be hands off, or if we allow you to fucking become successful, you must always get on your knees and pay homage. You know, it's fucking ridiculous. You know, it's so ridiculous. And the thing that kind of, you know, if there's another example that I can point out here and possibly make people even angrier about, you know, an example of this, of how absurd it is, right? Is weren't they given that what the fuck was her name? The Australian fucking rapper chick. The fuck's her name? Iggy Azalea. Weren't they giving her shit because when she raps, you know, she sounded like way too similar to Nicki Minaj, that she's basically stealing Nicki Minaj's style. I mean, that's basically the rationale that a lot of people made for, you know, essentially trying to fucking end her career, right? But then Cardi B comes along and you know, sounds pretty goddamn similar. I mean, if you put on a Cardi B song and said it was Nicki Minaj, I 100% would believe that it was Nicki Minaj, or vice versa. And yet nobody gives her any shit for basically taking Nicki Minaj's sound and style and fucking, you know, what's the fucking word? Capitalizing on it. And I assume that the only reason that is black and therefore it's okay, right? But if it's Izzy Azalea, the white girl from Australia, oh, it's not okay for you to fucking sound that way. Even though, you know, I mean, I'm not a fan of any of these fucking people, you know. I think Nicki Minaj is an obnoxious fucking twat that is overrated and, you know, somehow convinced herself that, you know, her short little foray into the music business has qualified her for fucking diva status. You know, I think she's an obnoxious fucking twat. I don't really know shit about Cardi B, and I don't really give a fuck. Nor do I know much about Iggy Azalea, other than you know, wasn't she like hooked up with a fucking basketball player that got busted fucking cheating on her or some shit? I don't know. But what I do know is that there's this fucking bullshit that goes on where, for some reason, if somebody is not black and has a fucking talent or a skill doing something that ordinarily only black people do, for some reason it's like cheap and it's a knockoff, it's faking it, and you know, like, I don't know what the right term is, but you know, it's always this, like, it's always made to seem like they're perpetrating, you know. You see this a lot if you pay any sort of fucking attention, whenever these so-called rap beefs or whatever fucking come up, or when people are discussing music, and especially if one of the people that they're discussing happens to be like white or some other, well, usually it's white. You know, you don't really see too many people making a fuss about, you know, like Asian rappers or you know, Latino. Is it Latino? Do Latin people like being called Latino? And I know there's some new shit, Latinx or whatever. You know, nobody seems to make a big deal when they find some success. If I can get that out of my mouth. You know, when they do it. But if the person is white, it's like, oh no, you know, you're perpetrating, you know, like, one of the things I always found fucking hilarious, right, was, you know, this idea that if somebody white, I mean, and it goes both ways. I've heard, you know, black people and white people fucking say this ridiculous bullshit, but like, if somebody white speaks with street slang, when it, you know, black people have a tendency to view that that guy or girl as, like perpetrating or pretending to be something that they're not. White people, on the other hand, have a tendency to call speaking in street slang talking black, as though it's very fucking stereotypical. It's usually a sign of I wouldn't say it's racism. I don't think it's as strong as that. I think it's just sort of relying on stereotypes, that this belief that all black people speak with fucking street slang, and every black person's from the hood, and just just the stereotypical shit. I don't think there's any malice behind it, but there's definitely some ignorance involved, right? And you see it all the time. You see black people getting upset when somebody says something like that, because it's like, oh, what, we all talk like that, and it's understandable that you'd get upset. 100% understand that shit. But this idea that there aren't white people that have grown up in a really shitty fucking environment, that any white person that speaks in street slang or loves hip hop or some shit is somehow perpetrating. I don't know. I mean, I grew up in kind of I don't know. I don't know if you'd qualified it as like on the same level as like what people consider the hood or whatever, but it's not like I came from fucking the suburbs and shit. Boston and especially where I'm from, it gets kind of fucking rough out there. But like there are neighborhoods that I mean, fucking Boston's no different than really any fucking city, right? Where there's a definite like like different groups have their sort of sections, right? Like there's always like a Chinatown somewhere. There's always like the hood, there, and then there's like the rich neighborhoods, and I mean, Boston's no fucking different, right? But there are, there were several areas where you could definitely say, okay, that's the fucking hood, and it had nothing to do with the fact that it was mostly black people. It was just hoods all look basically the same, right? They're kind of trashy. It's questionable as to whether or not you should be fucking out there by yourself at night. It's just, it is what it is, right? And anytime I would fucking go to these neighborhoods, there's always fucking white people living there, that are having the same fucking struggles. They may not have to, deal with maybe the police following them, everywhere they go. Yes, granted, I guess, white people are afforded that, but this idea that they're all just secret fucking millionaires and they're pretending, it's fucking nonsense. And what the fuck am I talking about? Jesus Christ, how did I end up fucking talking about it? If you're still upset with me, black people, for giving you shit about fucking Bruno Mars, well, you can go fuck yourself, to be honest, because I feel like I made a fair assessment. Yeah, fucking, yeah, you came up with R&B and whatever else, and and that's fine. Nobody's trying to steal it from you, and I certainly don't think Bruno Mars is trying to steal fucking R&B music from you. This idea that if you're not black, you can't do these things. I mean, isn't this like on the same? I mean, I know it's obviously apples and oranges to a degree here, but isn't this the same sentiment when white people would tell black people that they can't fucking eat at a counter or use a bathroom or drink from a fucking fountain because it was whites only or whatever? I mean, isn't it kind of the fucking same? I mean, obviously the implications are different. I mean, obviously there's a huge gulf between being told you can't use a fucking bathroom because of the color of your skin and being able to fucking sing a particular type of music. But it's at least in the same fucking wheelhouse, this idea that this is ours and you're not allowed. I don't know. It's all fucking horse shit, to be honest with you. And it's because of shit like this where where I'm fucking happy that I'm Filipino and only a smidge of black and Portuguese, which I guess Portuguese is, I guess that's white, right? They're from Portugal or whatever. But it makes me fucking happy that I don't have to put up with that shit because you know I mean, other than people assuming that we eat dogs, and you don't really hear too much flack, right? But I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So let's fucking move on. I don't. I don't understand. Like, I still, like, I'm on Twitter, like always, right? And, I'm progressive. So naturally, most of the people that follow me and that I follow as well, they're progressive as well. So, there is some degree of an echo chamber going on in that realm, right? I'll fucking admit, I think that, most people that consider themselves progressives, that are actual progressives, understand that it's very easy to sort of get locked in this echo chamber where everybody fucking thinks and says the same shit. The only difference I will say that when you compare like progressives to say like fucking Democrats and Republicans is that we are focused 100% on the issues when it comes to, as far as politics is considered. We're focused on the issues. We don't give a shit about identity politics. We base our perspective, especially when it comes to the Democratic Party, based on their fucking history. There is no some talking head told us this, so therefore we now believe that. That isn't us. That you'll find a lot of that type of shit, from Democrats and Republicans, that spend all their time, watching Fox News or MSNBC, and that's really, or maybe even they read a fucking newspaper, and that's really all the only sources that they get their fucking information from. But what I don't understand is I still see people giving, like giving Bernie Sanders shit for I don't even know what is it, for those of you out there that are part of the so-called resistance, even though I don't know what the fuck you're resisting other than change and the ability to fucking have nice things in this fucking country. But somebody needs to explain to me what is your problem with Bernie Sanders, because if you watch any of the speeches he gives, if you watch the town hall where he's in like fucking West Virginia surrounded by people that are basically Trump supporters, and watching them fucking give the guy a standing ovation because he has, he's 100% focused on on fucking policies that would actually benefit the working class and low income families and people that just want to fucking send their kids to college and don't want to go fucking bankrupt over a case of the fucking sniffles. I don't understand how you can watch those things and or listen to one of his fucking speeches and come away with that as like, oh, he's a fucking, he's a threat. He's the guy that we need to fucking keep out of I do not understand it. You have to explain to me why you have such a problem with a guy who wants to create policy that would fucking benefit everybody instead of the fucking top 1%. Like the Medicare for all thing, right? I had a I don't know, discussion I mean, it stayed fucking civil with my sister's husband, who, he's I mean, on pretty much most things we see eye to eye on everything, right? He's not some fucking right wing whack job or a Republican or any of that shit. He's just, he's what I would consider a sort of um like half informed but mostly uninformed person, which is what most people are in this country, right? They hear, little blurbs here and there. Maybe they turn on the news for like 15 minutes. They hear other people that have only fucking, had the news on for a few minutes talk about things as though they're some sort of like authority figure. He's basically the equivalent of the average American in this country, right? Just aware of politics, but not really, I mean, the understanding is very superficial. It's very whatever, whatever they say on TV or in a newspaper or in a magazine, that's all their exposure to politics really is. And we were having a discussion. I didn't even want to talk about politics because even though I know, he's definitely left leaning, I know where those conversations usually fucking head down. But we had been drinking, a couple of beers, had a couple of pops in us, and the subject of Bernie Sanders and Medicare for all came up. And he, like most like most people that only pay superficial attention to what's going on, he had a very clouded understanding of even what Medicare for all is. And he found, or I found that he was kind of giving the usual fucking talking points, right? This idea that um that it would be too difficult to do that, you know that somehow it was going to cost more money, even though there's been ample fucking evidence and proof and studies and data that show that it costs less than what we currently spend on healthcare. But the number one thing, that he said, that, and I've heard many uninformed people say, is this, like, oh, they, fucking in Europe or Canada or whatever, like, they have to wait in lines, and and you're sitting around waiting to be seen by a doctor. And I was just like, well, okay, let me try and I don't know, give you a different perspective on it, right? So on one hand, you have Medicare for all, where depending on what you go to the doctors for, you may end up having to wait, assuming it's not life threatening. I don't If it's life threatening, you move ahead of the line in, no matter whether it's Medicare for all or the shit show health insurance thing we got going on currently. Obviously Medicare for all isn't gonna pay for for everything. It's not gonna pay for cosmetic shit, which health insurance that's purchased from one of these fucking companies doesn't cover it either. So there's no real argument there. So on one hand, you have Medicare for all. You might have to wait in line for a little bit to get seen, depending on the I don't know what the fucking word is. Depending on, if it's the fucking emergency, or if it's just, I gotta, I want to get my fucking physical. You might have to wait, behind more fucking expedient, or more, I wish I could think of the fucking word, but, more important fucking, cases, right? But you get not access, you get the care that you need, it doesn't cost you anything, or if it does cost you something, it's very fucking small. We're talking chump change compared to what you'd have to pay with the other thing, right? You get to choose your doctors. It covers dental and vision and all of those things, right? Those are all things that if you have to buy your own insurance, that you have to pay extra for. And on top of the ones that you have to pay extra for, you also have co-pays. Whereas in Medicare for All, you either have like ridiculously low co-pays or no co-pays. Bottom line is, if there's something wrong with you, you can see a doctor, and you might have to wait in line a little bit or whatever, but you get to see the doctor and you get the proper care. But on the other hand, you have the Obamacare, or the health insurance industry version of healthcare, where you might not wait as long, but 9 times out of 10 you can't, you have to choose doctors that they choose for you, right? Sometimes you can choose whichever doctors you want. I'm not going to pretend like that's not an option. But when you go and see them, you're expected to pay, these these fucking ridiculous, co-pays. The cost of medication can be through the fucking roof. Your health care provider or health insurance provider can decide whether or not you get the treatment you need. And if they feel like, well, it would be, beneficial to them to not pay for that surgery you may need or that medication that you may need, well, guess what? You don't get it. And if they do cover it, they're only going to cover like 50 to 60% of it, and you're responsible for the rest of it, which, if you've even remotely taken a look at the cost of care, you'll find that a lot of the times people will end up in bankruptcy because there was just some unforeseen fucking situation that happened in their family, and they had to see a fucking doctor, and now it's either fix it and make it better, or not fix it and it getting worse, or maybe the person fucking dies or whatever. So they find themselves having to decide, do I go into bankruptcy? Do I allow my entire fucking financial well-being to crumble, or do I not fucking see a doctor, or not take my son or daughter to get treatment, or buy the fucking medication that would save my life or keep me sane, or whatever it is? You'd rather have that just because you don't have to wait in a fucking line? Or would you rather have the Medicare for All, where maybe depending on what you're going to see a doctor for, you might have to wait a little bit, but you won't end up in financial fucking ruin at the end of the fucking day? And I mean, I didn't quite put it like that to him, because I don't normally talk like this, at least to family. I might be a little cunty to fucking people I don't know, but to family, I didn't phrase it exactly like that. But at the end of it, he was like, you know what, it makes sense for Medicare for All. Aside, regardless of just that scenario, right? The fact that we already have a Medicare for All system going currently. It's called Medicare, right? All the old people that are on, you ask old people, would they prefer to pay for insurance that can basically decide to not cover you based on pre-existing conditions and whether or not they feel like forking out the dough, or would they prefer to stay on Medicare where the cost is minimal to nothing? I'm willing to bet that if you talk to old people, that if they are a rational person, if they're not just reacting out of fucking because they're a reactionary type of person, not one old person would fucking change from Medicare to private health insurance. Not fucking one. And the thing is, because we already have Medicare, we already have the fucking blueprint for making it happen. So this idea that it's too fucking difficult is nonsense. It's already been proven that it would cost less than our current fucking situation. And as far as cost is concerned anyway, it's funny how everybody's like, oh, how the fuck would we pay for Medicare for all? But then when it comes to increasing the military budget, we just have billions of dollars that we can just pull out of fucking nowhere. And nobody questions that. Nobody's like, where are we going to get the money to increase the military budget? Where are we going to get the money for that? Where are we going to get the money to pay for these F-35s that don't even fucking work? Or, that cost, like $1 billion a piece. Where are we going to get the money? Nobody fucking questions that. Nobody asks where we're going to get the money for that. But when it comes to something that would actually help people, that would actually benefit people that aren't fucking, like where their fucking toughest decision isn't, do I take the fucking Rolls Royce or do I drive the fucking Jaguar? It's strange that anytime there's any sort of like, well, let's do something that would help people, there's suddenly, how do we do this? How do we pay for it? Oh, this is fucking fairy dust and ponies. So getting back to Bernie Sanders, it makes really no sense to me and to pretty much every other progressive why there are people. I mean, we get why the establishment, the millionaires and billionaires and the fucking corporatist politicians that have enjoyed a gravy train of fucking money being thrown at them to turn a blind eye to towards policies that would that continue to hurt American citizens. We understand that. But when it comes to some ordinary Mo that is struggling to keep their head above water, and you're bitching or you're upset at Bernie Sanders, who's trying to do something that would fucking help you, you're upset at him. Why? Why? Because you were tricked and convinced that Hillary Clinton was this fucking saint? That if she was president now, we wouldn't have the fucking the deregulation of the fucking banks that they're currently trying to do now, even though she's known to fucking take Wall Street money and was all for the bank bailouts when Obama was elected as president. Anybody that actually thinks at this point that Hillary Clinton would have been better, that the things that are happening now wouldn't be happening if it was her, I know for a fact has no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Because everything that Trump is doing that you're so fucking upset about, Obama was already doing. The only difference is Obama was charismatic. He knew how to make people, like him, while ignoring the shit that he was fucking doing. Like the fact that, he came in. I mean, the whole reason that people elected him back in 2008 was because they were sick to death of fucking George Bush and the fact that his bullshit war with Iraq had basically tanked the fucking economy. The banks had gone nuts. They had fucking they were causing all these fucking foreclosures and shit because they were doing illegal fucking transactions and shit. They elected Barack Obama because he sounded like, when he gets in, if he's put in charge, he was going to change that. But what happened when he was elected? First thing he did, he fucking bailed out the banks and gave the finger to the working class people, right? The people that were losing their homes, that, some of them had been in those homes 20, 30, 40 fucking years. that were losing their homes, not because they were, bad with their money or, irresponsible. It was 100% because the fucking banks that he decided to bail out had fucking done a bunch of illegal shit and basically fucked them out of their family homes. He didn't help not one of them. He came in and made the Bush tax cuts permanent. He increased the surveillance state that we now live in. He increased the fucking drone strikes by like 900%. And those drone strikes, 9 times out of 10, don't hit their intended target. What they do end up hitting are innocent men, women, and children. He expanded the 2 wars that we were in with Iraq and Afghanistan, expanded them to like 5 or 7, maybe 6, I don't remember. He deported more people than any president before him combined. He was breaking up more families than Trump has, in the 13 months he's been fucking a president. Obama deported and broke up more families than any fucking president ever combined. He did that. He decided to keep Guantanamo Bay open instead of closing it like he said he was going to do. He was the one that decided that, habeas corpus was no longer necessary in this country. That would decide if they decide to call you a terrorist, they can, lock you up indefinitely without a fucking trial, both foreign and domestic. Which means that really, if they wanted to, they could just, somebody that they didn't like what they were fucking saying, all they had to do was just say, you know what, I think this person's a terrorist, lock him up, and the fucking black van rolls up and you disappear. Right? And then Trump gets into office, right? And what did the Democrats do? They vote to increase the military budget that he wanted. They ignored DACA and basically fucking threw them under the bus. They now, you have like 17 fucking Democrats going along with this deregulation of the fucking banks, trying to tear apart the Dodd-Frank bill, which, basically what's going to happen is in about 10 years, probably less, we're going to have another fucking economic fucking crash. And you have 17 fucking Democrats going along with the Republicans here. Hillary Clinton fucking wanted, she was voting in favor of TPP. For those of you that don't know what TPP is, it is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It is a union. It was a union busting fucking policy. It was basically NAFTA on steroids. And for those of you that are like, well, what exactly is NAFTA? Basically, NAFTA opened the door for U.S. corporations to close their fucking factories and move them overseas and pay foreign workers less money to do the things that or to produce the products that they produce, and then they get to sell those products here tax free. They crushed the fucking unions with NAFTA. And then Barack Obama was trying to push TPP, which was NAFTA on fucking steroids, and Hillary Clinton voted in favor of it like 40 plus times before she eventually changed her vote. And the only reason she changed her vote is because Bernie Sanders had made a big stink about what TPP actually was. The DNC, right after Hillary lost the general election, decided, to start taking corporate money again. There is nothing that the fucking Democrat, and that's just like the tip of the fucking iceberg. And had you done any actual research into Hillary Clinton, you'd know that there are a million fucking reasons to not want her as president. And it has nothing to do with fucking 13 Russian bots with their fucking, kitten memes. It had nothing to fucking do with the fact that she has a fucking, clam. It has nothing to do with any of the shit that they have claimed is the reason that she fucking lost. The reason that she lost, the reason that progressives, or a lot of us, just couldn't bring ourselves to vote for her is because we already knew that if she was put into power, nothing changes. In fact, things get worse. And this idea that, Trump, these things that Trump are doing are so fucking, it's so horrific. The only reason that you feel that way is because you're finally aware of what's been going on in this country all along. Nothing Trump is doing. I'm not fucking getting behind Trump. The guy is a fucking maniac. He's ruining this fucking country. But this idea that Hillary would have been better. The only thing Hillary would have been better at is making you believe that nothing is wrong, even though all of these policies, everything that Trump has currently been doing, you have to, if you take a look at her political fucking history, if you look at the history of the establishment fucking Democrats and the corporatist Democrats, you will see she would have been on board for all of this shit. The only reason that you think Trump is so horrific is because you have been asleep to what has been going on in this country for the past, I want to say 8 years, but really it's the past 30 to 40 years. Things that started during Bill Clinton's, technically it got started with Ronald Reagan. Bill Clinton just fucking ramped it up. Like, ramped it up as fucking high as it can go. And it just got worse and worse from there. Bill Clinton's the one that fucking signed NAFTA into law. Bill Clinton's the one that fucking gutted welfare and, basically ramped up the drug war and came out with a ridiculous fucking crime policy that, kind of decimated the black community. He's the one that did a lot of this shit. He was the one that was secretly trying to fucking privatize Social Security with fucking Newt Gingrich. These are things that you can actually look up for yourself, rather than just being like, nah, that's bullshit, that's propaganda, that's Russia or some fucking other horse shit. Look it up. So, I don't mean, this has turned into me yelling at you guys for like 20 fucking minutes, but I don't get the fucking, at least from people that are the working class or, or low income, I don't understand why you're upset at fucking Bernie Sanders. He's the only fucking candidate trying to fucking help make your lives better and help you. He's the only fucking one. Tell me, what did Hillary Clinton run on? What was her policy positions when she was running for president? Tell me, what were those? Because I don't know what they are either. All I know was it was a bunch of platitudes about breaking the glass ceiling and being with her and I don't know. Other than that, I don't know what the fuck was Hillary for. What the fuck are the Democrats for right now? Tell me, policy-wise, what the fuck are they for? What is their plan to make things better in this country? And while you're at it, explain to me why 17 of them decided to deregulate the fucking banks. And why they all fucking turned their back on DACA and Dreamers. Tell me. You can't do it. You can't do it. So you're upset at Bernie Sanders. Why? Because he somehow fucking made it impossible for the worst fucking corporatist fucking war hawk to become president? Because all you have to do is do some fucking research. I've said this many times on this podcast. Nothing that we as progressives are saying are things that you can't look up for yourself and validate. Everything I fucking said you can look up and find out for yourself. Even if, just to satisfy this idea that I'm just fucking bullshitting you, that I'm just, I'm focused on only the negative things. I have said also, there are some good things that Hillary Clinton has done, but they're so fucking minuscule in comparison to the horrific shit she's fucking done. The lady is on film laughing about killing Gaddafi and turning Libya into a failed state. She even had like a little fucking limerick, right? It was like, we came, we fucking killed, ha 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 ha. The lady is a fucking sociopath. And you were all set to put her into the top position. But again, everything that I'm saying can be looked up. And if you find yourself unwilling to look those things up because you're angry at Bernie Sanders for some fucking reason, or you're angry at me, that says a lot more about you than anything else. That is basically you deciding, you know what? I'm going to stay in my fucking bubble of ignorance. I'm going to stick my head in the sand and pretend like none of the things being told to me are true. Look them up. If you can find one thing that I've said that is incorrect, by all means, let me know. She was against fucking gay marriage until 2013, 5 fucking years ago. Think about that. Her husband, Bill Clinton, was the one that created DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act, which basically made it so, people in the LGBTQ fucking community couldn't get married. That was the Clintons that did that. Yeah, I'll give it that, she had everybody's entitled to a change in heart, but you got to keep in mind that she didn't change her mind about it until everybody else did. Until it was no longer a political advantage to be against gay marriage. By the time she was okay with it, was already at the time where people were like, you know what, why the fuck not? Why can't, who gives a shit if they get married? That's when she decided to change her fucking mind. It wasn't that she suddenly had a moment of fucking conscience and clarity. It was, you know what? It's no longer politically advantageous for me to be against this. And that is the problem that we as progressives have always had with her, is that there's nothing about her that's real. It's all about political strategy. What are the best fucking looking optics? Which is why during her entire fucking campaign, I think they did numbers. Like she spoke in platitudes about I think it was 64% of the time. She only discussed policy 11 or 10% of the fucking time. It's the whole reason why if you really fucking try and think about what she actually stood for, it's difficult to do because nobody really fucking knows. What we do know is that she, loudly and with glee said that single payer would never happen in this country and laughed about it. That's what we do know. What we do know is that she's on camera laughing about killing a guy and, creating a fucking shit show in another country. What we do know is that she voted in favor of the Iraq War, which a long time ago used to be a disqualifier. Right? When people suddenly woke up and realized that this fucking, this war in Iraq and the weapons of mass, it's all a bunch of fucking horse shit. When people finally woke up and realized that it used to be a disqualifier if you fucking voted for it. If you recall when Barack Obama was, running for president the first time, one of the things that he constantly touted and one of the things that they constantly said about him was he was one of the few people who voted against the Iraq War. Now all of a sudden people are like, it doesn't matter that she's been for every single fucking war. It doesn't matter that she was tricked by the fucking biggest doofus to ever run this country, at least until Trump showed up. She was tricked by George W. Bush into going along with the fucking Iraq war. These things used to be fucking disqualifiers. She's changed her position, several times on like gun reform, which is now a very fucking important issue in this country. I mean, the lady stands for nothing. Absolutely nothing. And she is 100% behind every single fucking war. She was pushing Trump to bomb fucking Syria, even though, I mean, because somebody had made up a fucking story about him supposedly fucking, using chemical weapons against his own people, which if you actually look into it, you'll see that it makes no fucking sense. And you'll also find that, Syrians, actual fucking Syrians, fucking love the guy. They fucking love him. But because, people are told some bullshit story on mainstream media that, he's fucking, using chemical weapons on children and shit like that, and naturally Hillary wanted to fucking, bomb the dog shit out of fucking Syria, even without even knowing whether or not any of that fucking shit was true. You have the Democratic Party basically pushing for World War III, a fight with Russia, because they can't accept the fact that Hillary Clinton lost to a fucking clown. Fucking Kim Jong-un has decided he wants to come to the table and discuss nuclear disarmament with Trump. And fucking Democrats are upset about this. Think about that. The Democrats want to maintain this fucking nuclear standoff with North Korea. They want to maintain it. They're upset that Trump is considering sitting down with this guy and discussing things instead of just, saying, yeah, fuck them, and, launching fucking missiles and shit and killing a bunch of people. The Democrats are upset about that. They want him to maintain this fucking tension. They want him to start a war with fucking Iran, another nuclear superpower. And the thing is it's mind-boggling how people they can't see through this fucking bullshit, right? The reason that they don't want him to go to sit down with Kim Jong-un is because it'll be the first fucking time North Korea has ever sat down with the U.S. and talked shit out. For them to do that with Trump means that everybody before him has failed. So they don't want him to get a win. Right? Because, I mean, think about what happens if North Korea decides, you know what, we're done with our nuclear fucking proliferation. We're done with the fucking missile tests and all this shit. And we're going to start acting like reasonable fucking people. Imagine the fucking W that would be for Trump. They're upset about that. They want him, to start shit with Russia and Iran, because it will turn into a fucking disaster. And when the fucking war starts and American citizens are fucking dying or soldiers are being sent over and it's this fucking huge shit show, they can, come in like 2020 and be like, see what he did, see the fucking chaos that he fucking created. It's all horse shit. It's all fucking horse shit. So this anger that you have at Bernie Sanders, I don't understand what it is. I mean, it's either you're just fucking stupid, or you've got yourself caught up in so much fucking hero and idol worship that you've basically decided, you know what, I'm not even going to think critically about anything anymore. I'm just gonna, whatever the fucking talking heads say, that's what I will believe, and that's what I'll go on social media or at a fucking dinner party or whatever, and I will argue that, even though it's all fucking bullshit. I'm going to do that because it's much easier to maintain the fucking bullshit and the lies than to realize that, you know what, it doesn't matter whether the person has a fucking D or an R next to their name. We always get the same shit. The rich get more fucking money, and the poor and middle class get fucking crumbs, and sometimes they don't even get that. In fact, what they usually end up getting is a worse and worse fucking existence. And with that, folks, because I realize I've been talking for an hour, and who wants to listen to this fucking shit for an hour? I apologize. But anyway, so I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. I hope you're having a good week thus far. Maybe I'll give you another podcast, later this week. I mean, this is my first podcast of the week. So, I'll definitely give you another one. I just don't know which day. I mean, it could be tomorrow, it could be Thursday, it could be Friday. Who the fuck knows, right? But anyway, I'll talk to you again, sometime this week, all right? Like always, don't take any shit and go fuck yourself. Peace.